We're going to design the logo for our magazine. Okay. And our magazine, of course, 8.5 by 11. So I'm going to start with a page 8.5 by 11. Not that it really matters in Illustrator because it's resolution independent. So it doesn't really matter. This just gives me some sizing techniques so that I can actually size up my text. Okay. Whoops, there's a big you can see this. This is my crash report. The computer crashed just a while ago. Not the computer, but Illustrator. And I don't know why. I'm not going to send. Let's just hope it doesn't happen again. Okay, so I'm going to start off with the text. I'm just going to type the text. The name of my magazine is going to be called Bebop. It's a jazz magazine. Okay. And I'm going to just make this bigger. I'm going to type in what 144. There we go. It's a nice size. So just to resize it, I just clicked in there. I mean, the drop down takes you to 72 points, but if you want anything more, you have to actually type it in. So I just doubled it to 144. So I'm going to pick the font I want, and to save you from all this, I've already figured out font I'm going to use. Professor Minty. I like this font. I use it too much, but since this is just practice, a lesson, it doesn't matter. Okay. So I like this Bebop. There's a few things I'm going to change about it, but I kind of like it. And I'm going to turn the P into a trumpet to kind of, make this look a little bit different. You certainly don't want your logo to be something anybody can type out. Right? You want them just to get Professor Minty and be able to type your logo. So I always, I start with a font and then I tweak it somehow. And I'm show you what I'm going to do to this one. I'm going to get a trumpet. I could draw one. I could create one. There's one here in our symbols. It's not a very nice one, but my symbols palette has one. And I know it's in the category celebration because I was looking for it earlier. Okay, and so I'm just going to drag the trumpet, and it's a symbol. I can use it with my symbol sprayer. There's various things we can do with symbols. We had lessons on symbols, and but I want it just as an object. Okay, I don't care if it's a symbol, but it's there, and we got tons of symbols. You can see all your libraries. You got all kinds of different objects. Okay, and they're vector based, and some are advanced, some are pretty plain. This one it's all right, but it's a trumpet, and it's going to work with my project. Okay, I could have went hunting for one that looked a little bit better, but I'm going to just deal with this one. Okay. It's a symbol, so I come over here and it's a symbol, and that's what it is. It's a symbol, but I want to turn it into what it was based on. I want to turn it back into what it's a vector graphic is really what it is. Okay, so I'm going to take my symbol, and I'm going to go to the object menu. Let's just zoom into that. The object menu, and I'm going to go to expand. And when I do that, you come over here. I'm going to expand the object to fill. There's no stroke on it. I could expand the gradient to, there's no gradient. There's a gradient mesh on here already, so it's not a gradient. It's a gradient mesh. Okay. And we'll had that class. If not, any questions on a gradient mesh, we can show you again. You can always Google it. There's lots of videos on it. But I'm sure we took it in class, and I can go over it again another time. So there it is. Now there's you can see all the anchor points. You can see my shape. Okay. So I'm just going to move it over here because I want it to turn the P into that. I'm going to play around with that. But as you can see now, the P is text. I mean, the P is part of text and Bebop. So I'm going to turn this into just an object. Okay, I don't want it to be a font anymore. I want an object so I can break it apart, turn it into shape, get rid of something. I'm going to get rid of that line. I'm going to get rid of this thing. I'm going to turn this P. I'm going to morph this trumpet into my P. Same time. Okay. So to do that, Command Shift O. I love my keyboard commands. So it's type somewhere around here. Type create outlines. There it is, sorry. Create outlines is right in front of me. Create outlines. Command Shift O, as I say, I always forget where everything is, but it's Shift Command O. And then now it's an object. Okay, see that? It's an object all breaking up. I can take my direct selection tool and, you know, select that object and delete it. This direct selection tool, what happened is I end up selecting just part of it, and I had to delete it twice. Because when the selection tool just selected an anchor point, and I don't think I want that in there either. So let's just click on that and delete that. Okay. So I'm going to take my selection tool for the moment. I'm going to click on my trumpet. There's one thing I don't want on my trumpet, so I'm going to get rid of that first. I'm going to get the group selection tool, because I think this could be a group. And if I, nope, all right, it's not a group. Okay, so I'm going to click there, and I'm going to select one of those, okay? And it's a direct selection tool, so I just have maybe one path. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the Select Same menu, and something has the same fill and stroke, right? Red stroke, red fill, and I think I got all of them. Okay, Select Same. I like that. So we got same, stroke weight, appearance attribute, opacity, fill color, stroke color, blending mode. And these had the same fill and stroke, red, a red fill and a red stroke. Okay, and then I can just delete them. All right, beautiful. Relatively easy to do. Everything's an object in Illustrator. Okay, so now I'm going to select with the selection tool, so I get all of it, not just part of it. The direct selection tool will just select whatever I click on. I'm going to hit Command T. Whoops, sorry. This is not, Command T in Illustrator brings up the character palette. In Photoshop, it brings up Free Transform. I have to click Free Transform over here. We have Free Transform, we've got distortions and constraints. Okay, so I'm just going to take this up. Whoops. What I ended up doing, you can see that the registration mark, I ended up selecting the registration mark for this. This registration mark lets me control things about, you know, I can, if I put the red, I can rotate it on that registration point. See that? By default, they're usually always in the center. I'm going to click on there, just drop it back there. Okay, I'm going to move this over here. I'm going to bring this up and down so it kind of like fills that. I'm going to bring this in here like that. There we go. Let me bring this down a bit. Okay. Take maybe the part out there, bring this in over here. Okay, so it's happening. So let's just click away. Now I'm going to morph these two together or combine them using my character palette. Not my character palette, my Pathfinder palette. I apologize. The Pathfinder palette, we went through that a couple times, and it's how you can join objects together. Right? We have unite, minus front, intersect, exclude, divide, trim, merge, crop, outline, and minus back. Okay. So I'm going to select this, but you notice if I take my selection tool and I select my Bebop, it's one word. And the reason why it's one word is because on the layers palette, let's go to the layers palette. I mean, it's one object because the layers palette will show us that Bebop, I created outlines, but what it did, it grouped all the letters together. So there's all the letters together separate, but it's in one group. Okay. And when I take my direct selection tool, it selects the group. See that? We have another tool over here that's called the group selection tool. And And if I click on it, let's deselect everything. It selects the first group, which is the P. If I click again, it selects the rest of the group, which is all the letters. Okay, you can see. I'll show you that. I'll open up the layers palette. You can see that working. So the group selection tool selects the first group, which was with the letter I clicked on. If I click on a second time, it selects the rest of the group. Okay. So the group selection tool. So that's how I can select this all at once. Okay. And I'm going to go, my trumpet's not a group, it's one object, so I'm going to just use this, and I'm going to click on that. Okay. So we have the two selected. Okay. I have the P and the trumpet. And I want to unite them, make them one object. Okay. And I think if I take divide, what it's going to do, it's going to divide the overlapping work on there. Okay. I think that's what I want. And then that way I can take my direct selection tool and delete the parts I don't want. Like that. Whoops, I clicked on the wrong part. I want to click on the black. Let's just do that one first. And there we go. And I think there's a tiny little one here. There we go. Nope. I can fix that by locking off the trumpet. Whoops. I joined these now, so it could be kind of hard. All right. It's going to be difficult. So let's see if I could just zoom in there and get that little black piece there. There we go. Beautiful. So there we go. There's my P that now looks like a trumpet. Okay, so I'm going to take my selection tool. I'm going to select that and then take my group selection tool. Hold down the shift key and select that. Okay. So I have the P and the trumpet selected, and I'm going to unite them. But you see what happened? Even though I had this shape here in the center of my trumpet, even if it had no fill and stroke, it was still there. Okay. And I don't want it, so I have to get rid of it. But I can't see it because it's invisible. It has no fill and stroke, but it's an object and it's there. Illustrator has that problem solved. If I hit Command Y or View Show Outlines, View Show Outlines. I'm in Outlines now because it says Preview because I go back to that. So Command Y does. So does it say Outline? Yeah. So Outline, Command Y, or Preview, Command Y, depending where you're at. Okay, so I can see everything, whether it has a fill or stroke or whatever it has. It doesn't matter. I have that. So I'm going to get my direct selection tool, not my group selection tool, and I'm going to click this path right there. I can see it now. And then I go Command Y. So remember that. Command Y outlines, you can actually, don't hit Command T. Command Y, you can actually see everything. It shows you outlines. Okay, so there we go. I have that done now. Let's go and let's select. Let's take my group selection tool. So since I combined them, they should be in one group, right? See that? So I clicked on them and it selected them. I selected the old P. I clicked again and it selected the trumpet. So now that I have them stuck together, and I'm going to unite them because I want them to be just one object. Not a gray one, but that's quite all right. Okay, so there is my logo. I'm going to colorize it now. I'm going to select it all in my layers palette by clicking on layer 1. It's the only thing I have on layer 1. I can close off these palettes because I know I want to add a gradient to this. Okay, and Illustrator has some beautiful gradients. And, whoops, I didn't mean to do that. Okay, let's just It won't let me get rid of that little blue box. Okay, there it is. Okay, so I'm going to gradient. So I'm going to go to the swatches palette, and in the bottom left-hand corner of my swatches palette, we have swatch libraries. Okay, we have various things, color themes. I can show swatch kinds and all kinds of things. But we're going to swatch libraries. Illustrator has lots of libraries. And you can see down here I have gradients. And I'm going to choose metals. We got all kinds of different ones. See that? All kinds of ones. But since this is a trumpet, I want a metal one. And I'm going to zoom out. There we go. And I'm going to choose that one. Okay, so when I chose the gradient, it applied the gradient to each letter separately. Okay, I want it to be applied as one group. Okay, I can do that since they're all selected. I can apply them all as one group by taking my gradient tool, which is G on my keyboard, and there, so it's like one. But I want to go from the top to the bottom, not left to right, so I'm going to right there. Okay, there is my gradient. Okay, I can bring up my gradient swatches. Okay, let's bring up my gradient editor. I can double click my gradient tool. There's my gradient editor. Okay, so you can see all the colors. I can see the colors here, the midpoints of the colors, same over here. You know, I think I want another highlight color. I want another highlight color, and I want it in between here. So I'm going to take this color stop. I'm going to Alt and drag it over here. There we go. I just think I need a little bit more because it's kind of long here. Let's, whoops, take that down. Let's take this color. There we go. Bebop. Okay, so a few things I'm going to do to my thing. My group selection tool, I want to select that, and I want to bring it up a bit. There we go. I like that. Okay, so I got my gradient. I think I like my gradients. I'm going to leave that. I'm going to go to the layers palette, select my object, not just the P, but everything. Okay. I'm going to go to the appearance palette and add some stroke. Add a stroke to this, at least one. Okay. Okay, what I'm going to do though first though, that's kind of bothering me, is I'm going to put this all on one layer. I'm going to just drag that, whoops. I'm going to just drag Bebop, move it right up there. So it's all in one object. There we go. All right. Okay, I'm ready. I got my direct selection tool. I want to add a new stroke. First off, let's get rid of this black stroke that I put on there. There we go. Let's add a new stroke. Oh, we've got a problem here. Okay. Now I have my design all in one object, okay? One group. That way I can select them all together. And that way I can actually go to my appearance palette and add a stroke tool. Add new stroke. Okay? You need to select it with the selection tool. They all need to be together in one object or one layer. I'm going to take and I'm going to drag my stroke underneath my object. Okay, I'm going to make it a couple, maybe 4 points. Yeah, and then I think I'm going to make it brown. I'm going to dark gold. Okay, I bring up my color finder. And maybe take something from my ramp. Oh no, maybe something. Yeah, I think that might be it. Bebop. There is my magazine cover. And I think while I'm at it, I'm going to maybe just throw another stroke on this. Let's just give me one more. And I'm going to add another stroke. And this one's going to be 6 points. And it's going to be black. And it's going to be underneath my 4-point stroke. There we go. Bebop magazine. All right, I like that. I like that. Okay, so now I'm going to go to my group selection tool, and I'm just going to play around with these. I'm going to select that group. Just move it over a little bit. Select this group. Move it over a little bit, and this group. There we go. And I think maybe a couple more. Okay, the logo to my magazine. I think I may take this up a little bit, just like that. And I may take my direct selection tool, select the base of my P, and just bring it up a bit. There we go. So I just did the direct selection tool and selected the bottom anchor points and did that. Okay, there's one thing I'm going to do, and take my selection tool, select everything, and this font, this other stroke, I think I'm going to do it a real dark brown instead of black. Yeah. There we go. Command S. There we go. Bebop, my magazine cover. I'm going to go to InDesign, and there's bebop.ai. That's what we're going to do. Just overwrite the last one, and we'll use this one. Okay, the one I made earlier in the earlier lesson. We'll just overwrite that one. I'll just click on it. See how it took over its name? I just clicked on it. It took over its name, and I'm just going to, and it's an Illustrator file, and I'm going to replace the other one. And this point, Illustrator, you know, we have versions. Photoshop, a Photoshop document. An Illustrator 2020 is different than an Illustrator 2015. Okay. You can step back if you must, you know, to match the version that you want to. Some printers, some printing companies, if you're printing Illustrator files, will request that you go back to a legacy format or a CS format. Okay. But you can. This is your choice. I always create a PDF compatible file so it can be opened up in Acrobat Reader and viewed at the same time. Okay. I'm going to click OK. I'm going to get back to my group selection tool, and I'm going to select the group. That's the E. I'm going to move it over a bit. Okay. My logo. Beautiful. I like that. Okay. So that is this Illustrator lesson. We created a logo. Okay. We took some font and we altered the font. Okay. That's an easy way to create a logo. Okay. You just don't want to use this as normal font. You know, I can even play around with this, you know, straighten this out, make it a little bit looking nicer, smoother, but I'm going to keep it just like that. I think I like it. I got my little trumpet there on the P. So I've got my design. Okay, that's this lesson.